Hi there, welcome to Xbox On. The busy summer days are upon us and you may be out spending too much time in the sun and missing out on all the wonderful games passing you by. What were you thinking? Get back inside, shut the blinds and check out these 8 gems that you may have missed. Hey, sunburn and hay fever are dangerous. It's safer inside. Trust us. Micro Machines, the beloved mini toy racers, zoomed back onto our consoles recently, and it's just as fun as you remember all those years ago. I haven't played Micro Machines in about 18 years, but I'm happy to report I still owned the racetrack. At least I did during this recording. You don't want to see the rest. The tried and tested formula is still alive. You race as your little toy car from a top-down perspective, guiding it through ordinary life levels like a breakfast table or a garden, with normal things causing chaos for such little vehicles. For example, who knew baked beans would be so in the way and annoying, or syrup on the kitchen table could slow you right down. The races are manic, and with the inclusion of bombs, hammers, and fire at your disposal, it gets even more crazy. There's a few different modes to try too. There's your standard races, which you can complete in a variety of different cars. There's elimination mode, which is super stressful and sees you knocked out the instant you go off screen. Once you're a spectator, you can blow up other people who are still driving though, so that's pretty satisfying. And there's All Out War, where your cars are kitted out with guns and special moves, where you can take out all your rage on poor other racers. Watching their little cars explode is super satisfying and not psychotic at all. If you want to combine your love of childhood toys and memories with guns and explosions, then check out Micro Machines World Series today. Shadow Warrior 2 is a gorgeous first-person shoot-'em-up that packs a serious punch. Shadow Warrior 2 picks up 5 years after Shadow Warrior ended. You play the role of modern ninja warrior Lo Wang, who must battle armies of demons that have invaded the world sent from another dimension. This time around, the levels and environments are much more open and non-linear compared to the first offering, which is definitely a welcome sight considering how gorgeous the environments are, so exploring them is a real joy. Even better, you can play in 4-player co-op mode, so why not grab some mates and explore everything the game has to offer. Shadow Warrior 2 is also a lot less rigid than the first offering, allowing you to revisit earlier missions to fight past enemies again so you can upgrade Lo Wang's skills. Apart from story-specific ones, each mission will have randomly generated levels and content, including weather conditions and enemy locations, which means you never really know what lies ahead waiting for you. Plus, the game has a great sense of humour. Lo Wang just loves to let people know exactly what he thinks of them. Also, apparently, these guys don't mind if you shoot them in the face, which is very relaxed of them. Hands up if you shoot other characters just to see if you can get a reaction from them. So that's all of us then? Good. Rime is a beautiful adventure that worms its way into your heart and captures your imagination. Rime begins with a boy washed up on a mysterious island. There is no explanation as to what is going on or what you have to do. It's up to you to explore and find out for yourself. Well, you're not completely alone, as a magical fox appears and guides you. Why can't a magical fox appear in real life and guide me when I get lost? Would probably be way more helpful than Google Maps. Along the way, you'll also see a mysterious man in a red cape, but he's always just out of reach. Along the way, the boy will start to remember how he came to the island, and it's a pretty intense and cutting story. Get those tissues at the ready, you're gonna need them. Rime is basically a game of exploration and puzzles as you climb, swim, and jump your way across an extremely beautiful world. Puzzles are simple yet satisfying, like working out how to get this big old fat pig to move out of your way. Turns out she just needed some food to get her to budge, so she's basically me in animal form. The best thing about Rime has to be how insanely beautiful it is. The colours are bright and stunning, the art style has a charming Studio Ghibli-esque style to it, so even if all you're doing is wandering from place to place, you know you'll enjoy the experience. Absolutely lovely. Human Fall Flat does a lot of what it says in its name. You play the part of Bob, an average Joe who's trapped in surreal dreamscapes who can only progress by solving challenging puzzles. Of course, there is something a little bit different about Bob. Mainly the fact that he's a blobby, wobbly mess who ragdolls more often than not, and just the sight of his body wobbling around from A to B will have you smiling to yourself. The main aim of the game is to complete puzzles that present themselves to poor old Bob. I mean, how can one little blobby man hit 2 buttons at once? Well, you'll have to master the art of stretching Bob's reach out if you want to get through the door. There's switches to flip, obstacles to push around, and well-timed jumps to master. You'll be let loose to explore and work out the world around you, with only pesky gravity getting in the way of you and your dreams. The world will get more and more adventurous, with medieval castles, ancient temples, and power plants to name just some of the places you'll be exploring. You can also take on Human Fall Flat in local co-op, so hurling your friends and loved ones around and ragdolling all over the place with them is twice as entertaining. If watching little blobby characters flopping all over the place whilst working out puzzles is your idea of a good time, you weirdo, then check out Human Fall Flat today. Now for something a little creepier that is sure to send shivers down your spine. Town of Light is a tale of past and present and a woman named Renee. During the 1930s, she was incarcerated in a psychiatric hospital in Tuscany in Italy. The game is all about Renee, now grown up, returning to the abandoned building and trying to come to terms with what really happened there. It may sound like a very spooky premise, what with the abandoned psychiatric hospital and all that, but it's not your typical jump scare fest. Yes, there are spooky sounds and you'll definitely feel unsettled, but it's more about discovering the story and unlocking the past rather than being terrified out of your mind. Renee will talk to herself and remember disturbing moments, so it's certainly an unsettling experience. Plus there's this doll. I mean, look how creepy that is. Is there some rule that all old children's dolls are super creepy? The game isn't so much about incredibly taxing puzzles, but more about exploration, understanding, and discovering the history that lies there. The developers did extensive research into the game as the hospital is totally real, which makes the game even more creepy when you really think about it. If you like stories that are based in true locations and creepy tales that won't leave you too scared, then make sure to explore Town of Light today. Victor Fran is a demon hunter who arrives in the city of Zagoravia ready to fight off demon infestations and be an all-around badass. It's his job to clear the city of all the gross things that wander the streets, and he does it all with a sword in his hand and a smile on his face. The combat in Victor Fran is very reaction-based. You'll be quickly dodging attacks to avoid damage, whilst you cruise through your variety of weapons whilst deciding what to use to take down foes. Victor himself does not have a specific character class, so it's not so much of a full-on RPG, but more free when it comes to what path you take. You can tweak Victor by changing his weapon choice, searching for stronger weapons to improve his attack damage, and using consumable items like bombs to make a bigger impact. Each weapon has 2 different special attacks it can do that require charging up, but it's super satisfying when you unleash one of these bad boys on a group of enemies bearing down on you and blow them all to smithereens. I preferred to go with his sword attack as it just felt more natural and fluid, but if distance fighting is your kind of thing, then he has a variety of shotguns and handguns he can use instead. You can partner up with a friend in co-op and take down enemies because you know battling the undead is always more fun with a friend. From intense shooting to relaxed chill times, Refund is a game without story and without much of a purpose. It's all about being calm, a pleasant soundtrack, and bringing colour to a plain world. Refund is a short, peaceful game where you don't get attacked, where there's no death, and you can go at your own pace. The basic premise is that you jump on these white platforms and turn them green. Eventually, all these towers will rise up and the world will be populated by height and colour when it all started off flat and lifeless. There's a platforming element to it as you can use wall jumps to get to areas otherwise unreachable, pipes and slides which will carry you to other areas, and springboards which will have you reaching great heights. There's no tutorial, so it's a case of just jumping right in there and working things out for yourself. It's a short game, but with a small price tag, the calming moments of peaceful puzzling it gives you feels justified. It's not for everyone, but if you want to chill out and lose your mind in peaceful platforming, then Refund is the one for you. Broken Age is a gorgeous story of 2 teenagers who live completely different lives and both long to break the traditions that they're stuck in. As the game starts, you can choose between 2 characters, a girl named Vela or a boy named Shay. You can switch between each other's stories whenever you feel like, giving it a seamless sense of variety. There's such a huge contrast between Vela and Shay's world. Vela lives in a world where archaic traditions still exist, and Shay lives in a futuristic spaceship where everything is incredibly modern and sterile. The story starts with Shay being given different activities to do every day, where it's made very clear that he's bored of the same routine he takes part of. Vela is taking part in an old tradition that has some dark undertones. I don't want to go into any more of the story as that's worth discovering for yourself, but it's a fascinating story that intertwines with each other in a brilliant way. The game is a point and click, requiring you to use items to further the story and talk to characters to get an idea of what to do next. It's got a really charming feel to it. The dialogue is very natural, and even though both sides of the story are so different, you feel at home in both of them. The art style is gorgeous too, making the whole experience feel almost like a children's storybook. It's whimsical, whilst deep, and 100% deserves your time and attention. And there we have it, 8 games that may have passed you by. Do let us know if there's any we've missed in the comments section below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button if you haven't already. We'll see you next time. Bye!